having me. It's great to be here. Well, I'll start off, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm originally from my parents. That's true. Not trying to brag. I work with children. I work in a housing project where I live, so I have to speak Spanish to parents sometimes, which is fine. I mean, I learned Spanish in elementary school, middle school, high school. But the thing about the Spanish that you learn in public schools is that it's this super proper, like Castilian peninsular Spanish that like Spanish noble people spoke in the 1600s. And I speak it terribly. So I can't even imagine what I sound like to a native speaker of the language. The only comparison I can make is I must sound to them what an absolutely incoherent British man would sound like to me. Just if someone came up to me and was like, "Oh yes, excuse me, Mr. Man. I am doing okay. Now, please be telling of me how much far does my walking need from here to bathroom? Your big building have many book I like you give." I suffer from insomnia. Anybody else suffer? Clap if you suffer from insomnia. It's always the same. It's always just a few people like, "Oh yes, it hurts." The way my insomnia manifests itself is that the moment my head hits the pillow, that's when my brain doesn't shut up about anything that's ever happened in my entire life. And in particular, do you ever remember something from your past that's so embarrassing and shameful that you actually physically wince remembering it? You know what I mean? Well, every single night, all of those events get together and compete in title matches in my brain. And it'll be like, in this corner, the time Nick told a girl he loved her on a first date. And in this corner, the time Nick masturbated in an airplane bathroom on a high school bench. The thing is the speed, the bathroom has the reach. What helps me get to sleep is that every night I listen to the radio, and because it's free, it's a good alternative. And in particular, there's this radio station in the Boston-Cambridge area, where I'm from, called WJIB. And if you don't know it, it's a radio station, it's a low-on-the-dial AM radio station that only plays the most obscure, corny music you've ever heard in your whole life. So it'll be like 30s and 40s big band and crooners, and then like Muzak covers of 50s and 60s pop songs, and then the entire Star Trek: The Next Generation theme completely uncut. And it has the audacity to call itself the Memory Station, when its sole demographic is people with Alzheimer's. But the best part is that it's all owned and operated by one old man named Bob Bittner. And the way you can tell is he's the only guy who ever does the announcements. No matter what time of day. And I'm just waiting for him to have a breakdown for the entire radio station to become his depressed memoir. Where he'll log on and be like, "You're listening to the Memory Stations. I stormed the beach at Normandy and saw things no man should ever have to see. Things that remind us we're all fragile meat cages, hurling around without destiny or purpose." And speaking of the war, he's a wartime favorite, the Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy for Company B. These are the Memory Stations. It's been 20 years to the day since my wife left me for a man with no feet. And here's the first song I ever played, "I Can't Stand Losing You" by the Inkblots. I'm convinced he's the only thing that's going to be left after like a Cold War style apocalypse. And he'll still be coming on being like, "It's been 4 years since the Ruskies bombed our entire homeland, making it unlivable. And at times like this, it's important to remember when things were simple, when things made sense. And I can't think of a better song to play on the Memory Stations than the song Memories from the musical Cats, as performed by actual cats." two after I wrote that joke, he played some weird samba version of that song. And I was like, I control the future! I'll leave you with this. I have a roommate who can be described as eccentric at best, or bipolar at worst. And he's messy. The way his eccentricity manifests is that he's messy. And he never cleans our French press when he's done with it. Oh, correct response. It's so infuriating, but I have never confronted him about it. Instead, every day I look at that French press and I do that thing we all do where you have the hushed, under the breath, one-sided argument as if the other person was in the room. Like you're rehearsing for the argument, you know you're gonna win one day. And it always starts off the same. It always starts off just like, oh, Jim, you could just clean it every once in a while. It only takes about 45 seconds, but oh, you must be busy. And then by the middle of it, I'm getting angrier and using terms I wouldn't use in a college essay. Then by the end of it, I just turned into a full-blown Southern lawyer at the end of a courtroom drama. Just like stomping around my kitchen, inheriting the wind. Screaming, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just a simple man. I'm just like you. Sawyer, every day I get up, I put my pants on one leg at a time, and then I take them off completely when I have to pee. We're not so different. Now maybe I'm not used to your big city ways. I was born a poor cutty boy, the oldest of 40 children. My father, he worked long, grueling hours in the tobacco mines. One day, he worked for 3 weeks before the sun came up. And I might not know a lot of things in this world. I might not know how to read an analog clock. I might not know where the clitoris is or what it makes. But I do know one thing for sure, ladies and gentlemen. I know that my forefathers, I had a very progressive family. My forefathers